If we are one, how do we avoid falling prey to the dark energies that would pull so many down into the states of anger, hatred, fear, and the constant cycle of revenge and retribution? How do we shift our awareness and move above and beyond the intoxicating pull of self-righteous indignation into a higher vibrational state that allows us to rise above these vain notions and reveal our true divine nature, our connected divine destiny? In our last episode, we went in depth into the importance of the I Am consciousness and how it is a statement of origin, of being, not a question of faith, but a statement of certainty and a proclamation of knowing who we are in connection with all that is. We revealed how living within this divine state allows us to create our own reality by virtue of divine intention and assumption of the wish fulfilled before it ever is outpictured. But within our own personal focus and the journeys we must all undertake to awaken into our true enlightened selves, there must be a cleansing of old ways of thinking, being, and acting towards our fellow souls. There must be a purging of the old to make way for the new. If we are one, how do we learn to let go of the things that no longer serve us and move on into a more self-fulfilling oneness consciousness of understanding and co-creation with the fellowship of all that is? How do we shed the karmic entanglements that keep us trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of pain and confusion, causing us to play and replay old roles over and over again with little resolution? Hi, I am Darrell T. Johnson, a musician, a teacher, and a QHHT hypnosis practitioner. Welcome to episode 6 of If We Are One. Hello everyone. Thank you again for joining me. In this episode, I want to talk about something that we all, in our own way and at our own pace, must confront and come to terms with as we consciously move forward in our own personal evolution and awakening as spiritual beings. What we are going to discuss today, which can be extremely difficult for many, is the importance and necessity of forgiveness. From the perspective of spiritual enlightenment, forgiveness is viewed as a sacred key to liberation and inner transformation. It is considered in many spiritual traditions to be an essential component to ending cycles of karma and suffering, both from a current life as well as reincarnation perspective. It is not just an interpersonal act, but a profound inner release that allows the awakening of peace, compassion, grace, and divine unity within us all. Practicing forgiveness releases attachment to things and circumstances that would forever pull you into its orbit. It allows pain to heal. It also frees the mind and heart from the oppression of resentment, anger, and fear. These emotions lower your vibrations, your spiritual connection, and keeps you living in the illusion of separation. By letting your hatred, anger, and fears go, one begins to attain clarity and serenity, which are key prerequisites for enlightenment. In the understanding of forgiveness and what it means, I want to provide you with some perspectives and context on how forgiveness is perceived in certain spiritual and religious teachings, and provide you with a compelling example of the power of forgiveness itself. So, forgiveness means different things to different people and groups. In Judaism, if a person caused harm, that person needs to apologize. Then the wronged person is religiously bound to forgive. However, even without an apology, forgiveness is considered a pious act. Teshuvah, which literally means returning, is a way of atoning. This requires ending of harmful acts, regret over the acts, confession, and repentance. Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, when Jews particularly strive to perform Teshuvah. In Christianity, forgiveness plays an important role in spiritual life. The Lord's Prayer best exemplifies this attitude. Also, the final words uttered by Christ on the cross showed the world the importance of forgiveness that has resonated through time. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus' teachings emphasize the importance of forgiving unconditionally, that we should love our enemies and turn the other cheek. In Islam, the word Islam itself is derived from the Semitic word salam, which means peace. In Islam, forgiveness is a prerequisite for genuine peace. Forgiveness is held as the better course of action whenever possible. As described in the Quran, although the just penalty for an injustice is an equivalent to retribution, those who pardon and maintain righteousness are rewarded by God. In Buddhism, the Buddha taught, the most valuable asset in life is tolerance. Holding hatred in the heart is like drinking poison and hoping others will die. Only forgiveness will make our souls peaceful. Now, these words are especially powerful because harboring hatred and disdain for someone or something else only harms you, not necessarily the focus of your disdain. The emphasis on forgiveness allows us to reflect on ourselves to help a more positive view of life. In Hinduism, the Krishna consciousness speaks of forgiveness as being authentic when even those who some do not believe deserve forgiveness still receive it. Forgiveness means to give up resentment, anger, and bitterness towards another person, even though an offense will often involve another person or persons. True forgiveness involves only one person, us. It means that we unilaterally and unconditionally cease to be resentful. Many people around the world today are going through great pain and hardship at the hands of others that oppress and marginalize them. It is understandable why many would respond with great contempt, anger, loathing, violence, and a desire for retribution. I do not sit in judgment of any person or group who feels that they may have no recourse but to fight back. From a spiritual perspective, however, it is important to understand that when practicing forgiveness while being oppressed, they are indeed engaging in a profound act that is both spiritually challenging and transformative. Forgiveness in these circumstances means choosing to release feelings of resentment and the desire for retaliation, even when justice and restitution may not be immediately possible or the offender has not repented. The spiritual lesson centers on compassion, humility, and the recognition of shared humanity, even with those who do harm. Now, this does not mean that they can do nothing. One can offer the tenets of forgiveness while actively working to stop oppression by practicing what some describe as forgive and remember, meaning one forgives the oppressor to release personal bitterness, but also remembers and acknowledges the reality of oppression to pursue justice and systemic change. Forgiveness in this context is about releasing animosity and resentment, but it doesn't mean ignoring or excusing injustice. Instead, it allows one to engage with solutions patiently and with a purified passion for justice that honors both healing and righteousness. Again, forgiving does not mean giving up on fighting injustice. It means acting without hatred, moving toward restoration with love, and working for social reform that prevents further oppression. There is a powerful example in this regard that I would like to share with you. It involves Native Americans and forgiveness. It was an event that was not prominently publicized when it occurred, but nonetheless was so important and spiritually impactful. It happened on October 21st, 2016 in Washington, D.C. Native Americans representing 1,000 tribes gathered in D.C. on this day for an historic event called the All Tribes D.C., a national day of prayer for the First Nations. Native American tribes came from around the United States and Canada for a public ceremony on the National Mall to forgive the U.S. government for breaking treaties with their ancestors. Portions of a proclamation posted on their All Tribes website were read by tribal leaders gathering on the National Mall on that day. The proclamation read in part, quote, "We stand in the gap for those who are unable or unwilling to forgive, and call upon the Master of Life to forgive us for harboring unforgiveness, resentment, hatred, bitterness, and rage. We repent of every curse spoken over America by our ancestors, and we release the power of forgiveness to bring healing and the peace of Creator God to this land." Wow. This was a tall order, to be sure, but the Native American tribes understood that the power of forgiveness for all concerned was more important than the legacy that had been left behind. Now, I absolutely understand and acknowledge that forgiveness is something that doesn't necessarily come easy or happen overnight. I personally have had to do some intensive soul searching on my own, in my own life experience, to find my way to forgiveness. But what ultimately made sense to me was the understanding that harboring this resentment for so long only shackled me in chains, not necessarily those that the chains were connected to. I personally had to make the decision that I needed to forgive in order to save and heal myself, not them. This forgiveness was for my healing. It didn't matter if those that I forgave even knew it or not. And it also didn't mean that I had to trust them or have them in my life. Once freed, I was able to move on completely and totally released from the weight of such a burden. Remember, it's like what the Buddha said, holding hatred in the heart is like drinking poison and hoping others will die. Only forgiveness will make our soul peaceful. Having said all of this, I would be remiss if I didn't speak on the subject of forgiveness from beyond the veil. By this I mean that all of our focus up to now has been about how forgiveness relates to physical existence, but it is profoundly important to understand and realize the true power of forgiveness from the perspective of a self-realized spiritual being, which, by the way, you are becoming, if not already there. So I'm going to go a bit off topic, but I promise you that you will see the connection in due course. Our physical existence here in the 3D realm is nothing more than an illusion. I spoke in the last episode about our relationship to Source itself, that all that is all there is, which means that everything, including you, is a part of all that is, that you are all that is, expressing itself as a unique and individual spark of the one. Also, remember that quote that I shared by Neville Goddard, who said, "There is no such thing as an external reality separate from your consciousness. The world you experience is a mirror reflecting back to you your own concept of self, your own understanding of the I am. Everything that you see and experience is a result of the projection from your own consciousness, the mirror, as it were. Experience in physical reality is a holographic projection." In the book entitled The Holographic Universe, Michael Talbot proposes that our physical existence is akin to a dream, a persistent but ultimately illusory experience. This idea is echoed by modern thinkers drawing on quantum theory and consciousness studies. Quantum physics teaches that, at its foundation, matter does not consist of solid objects, but rather probabilities and waves of potential. What appears solid, from electrons to entire objects, is mostly empty space, shaped by fields and wave functions. Our act of observation appears to collapse possibilities into one experienced reality, paralleling dream logic. That's the non-linear, surreal, and emotionally driven way in which events unfold within a dream, where experiences materialize from the mind's focus. So in essence, we're creating all of this stuff. Now, amusingly, as I say this, I am reminded of the quote by William Shakespeare, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts." From a reincarnational point of view, you are playing the role now as your current human self. Within this incarnation, you have interacted with many beings in many unique circumstances, and hopefully you have done the best you could with what you knew at the time and with the cards that you were dealt. However, when we realize that we are in the dream and our true identity is that of a spiritual being who lives in eternity, our perspective changes immensely. Moreover, when one comes into this world by way of birth, arrangements have already been made prior to the birth itself, determining, in general terms, your experience, your family dynamic, related circumstances, challenges, and the key players, the cast of characters, in your personal stage play that you will encounter and interact with. You still have free will and can change your mind as to what you have agreed upon and wish to do in your experience. But the agreements have already been made and the contracts, so to speak, have already been signed. When I do my QHHT hypnosis work with clients, very often I am facilitating the process of having them move from the end of one lifetime through the death transition and into that in-between period of assessment of that life's importance and the lessons learned, followed by preparation in the planning of the next incarnation experience, assuming you wish to come back at all. So as a spiritual being, we prepare our script, agree on the characters, determine who will be the heroes and villains, and finally re-enter into the 3D physical experience with full anticipation of what will transpire. As what normally happens during this transition, the veil of amnesia slowly is placed over us, and we tend to forget our true identity so that we can have this new and fully immersed incarnational experience. But as you wake up and become a fully aware spiritual being, you soon come to realize that we are all playing our part, both as the lead in our own personal experience and as a support player in others' personal experience. It's all about spiritual perspective and awareness. You are on the stage of life playing your part, but you are more than a cast member in the drama. You are a free will participant deciding how you can be of benefit or of detriment. We are all playing our parts. So from the standpoint of forgiveness as a spiritual being, it is in the knowing that this is just a game and others have played their roles in your life for you to gain your experience. Hopefully, you have learned the lessons you were brought here to learn. True forgiveness within this context is the recognition and understanding that we are all souls who have played an important role in the awakening of your full awareness. When you actually complete your mission and purpose here on earth, the death transition into the spiritual realm is just like waking up from the illusion and realizing it was just a dream. Oh, and by the way, there is no heaven and hell. There is only all that is. Now, the last thing that I would like to leave you with is a related perspective taken from the book, A Course in Miracles, where it teaches that forgiveness is a central spiritual practice, but it redefines forgiveness as letting go of illusions and recognizing the unreality of guilt, separation, and suffering. According to the Course, true forgiveness is the process of releasing all judgment, grievances, and the belief in separateness, first towards others and then towards oneself. By doing so, one remembers their fundamental unity with God and all beings and opens us up to the experience of unconditional love and peace. So I hope this provides you with a fresh perspective on forgiveness and a better understanding of who and what you are as a spiritual being having a human experience. I also hope you are beginning to understand the truth of why you're here and begin to see reality in a different light. We'll be talking more about these and other subjects in future episodes. And if there is anything that you would like me to discuss or any questions you may have about things that I have shared, please feel free to mention it by leaving a question or a comment in the comments section. As always, if you have found any of this information at all helpful or enlightening, please do me a favor and like, subscribe, and share with others. I am grateful to see more and more people coming to this space, and I hope you continue to let more people know so they can be a part of this ongoing movement to a oneness consciousness. As always, I send my love to all of you. And if we are one, let's all please live in forgiveness, peace, love, and joy.